I've got 5 bold predictions for the Atlanta Falcons this upcoming season on tap for today's show. Now, if you hear any screaming faintly going on in the background, that's our Saints host, Trace Gerard, doing a Madden watch party for the Saints-Falcons game. So I invite everyone to go over to the Saints channel here at Chat Sports and spam ATL in their videos. But let's get into my first bold prediction, which is Kirk Cousins moves into sole possession of 8th place in NFL history for 4,000-plus yard passing seasons. Right now, Kirk Cousins is actually tied with Eli Manning for number of passing seasons with 4,000-plus yards. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning are tied for first. Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees tied for third. Then you've got Matt Ryan, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford following suit. Now, what I've got there next to the number of 4,000-plus yard passing seasons on the left side of the fraction, to the right is the number of full seasons played. So I either did 16, 17-game seasons. If they missed one game, I still included it because sometimes they would sit for the final week of the regular season. But it's extremely impressive to see Kirk Cousins and Eli Manning tied with 7. But the difference is Kirk Cousins has done it in 8 full seasons. Eli Manning did it in 14 full seasons. So talk about efficiency for Captain Kirk. You can see some players a little bit more efficient than others in terms of getting to 4,000-plus passing yards. Now, that stat doesn't tell the whole story based on when you were playing, depending on how much pass attempts were going on in that era of football. Plus, were you on a team that was trailing a lot and needed to pass the ball in the fourth quarter to make a comeback? Or were you on a good football team that didn't need to pass the ball much in the fourth quarter because you built up a nice lead in quarters 1 through 3? So there are some nuances that go into getting to 4,000 passing yards. But I see Kirk Cousins moving on to that sole possession place ahead of Eli Manning with his 8th 4,000-plus passing yard season. He would have done it 4 straight seasons if he did not suffer his torn Achilles in 2023. The guy was on pace for nearly 5,000 passing yards last year. If you were to prorate his entire 2023 season, it would have been one of the best of his NFL career. 38 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That's what Kirk Cousins was on pace to do last year until he suffered an Achilles injury halfway through the season. But I expect the Falcons to air the ball out a ton and be in a lot of those close fourth quarter games like we just talked about. In order to get a lot of passing yards, you need to have a couple of circumstances go your way. It's not easy to throw the ball for a lot of yards if you spend the fourth quarter running the football and running out the clock because you've got a nice 24-10 lead. You've got to find yourself in spots where you need to be aggressive with the ball at the end of the game and picking up chunks of yardage because the defense doesn't want to give up the big play. And I think Kirk Cousins and the Falcons are probably going to be in a lot of those shootout caliber games. They were last season, and I don't think the defense made this dramatic, I wouldn't say turnaround, but vast improvement where the Falcons can put up 14, 17 points and win the game because their defense isn't going to give up 3 touchdowns. That's probably not in the cards for the Falcons this year. So I think they're going to be pushing the ball down the field a ton in the fourth quarter, and that's going to mean Kirk Cousins will rack up a lot of passing yards. So I'll turn it over to you guys, though. Over or under 4,000 passing yards for Kirk Cousins this upcoming season. I'm in the over camp. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Bold prediction number 2. Drake London goes over 1,200 receiving yards. London, through 2 seasons so far in the NFL, has yet to reach the almighty 1,000-yard mark we use to evaluate wide receivers, but he hasn't had the greatest quarterback play in his defense. It's been Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, Taylor Heineke, and despite that tumultuous quarterback play, he's put up 900 yards, 866 yards. He is knocking on the door of 1,000 yards, and bringing in Kirk Cousins, that should be enough to get him to 1,000. But I'm going to go a little bit further and say he'll get to 1,200 yards. Now, I'm not trying to compare Drake London to Justin Jefferson. But when Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson overlap for 3 straight seasons of everyone staying healthy, because 2023 they both suffered injuries, Justin Jefferson demanded the ball at a good rate. Like the last 2 years, amongst all the other wide receivers, he got 45% of the targets. That's nearly half of the targets. Think about that. Like every time Kirk Cousins dropped back and threw the football to a wide receiver, nearly half the time it went to one man. And you got to think with Drake London being the clear-cut number 1 wide receiver in this offense, He may not put up and probably won't put up the same production that Justin Jefferson does because he's in a tier of his own, but he's definitely going to get a lot of volume. He's going to get a lot of targets, and that's going to lead to hopefully a lot of receptions and then yards and touchdowns. So put me down for 1,250 yards, 6 touchdowns off 95 receptions this season. That's my prediction for Drake London's stat line this upcoming season. All right. If you love the Falcons and you bleed red, white, and blue, hit that thumbs up button and like today and subscribe to today's video. I want to see this channel continue to grow. So if you love the Falcons and you love America and you love the 4th of July, hit the sub button. Otherwise, I got to assume you're either a Saints fan or a communist. So when YouTube faxes me the list of everyone that did not subscribe to this video, and I know you don't like the 4th of July, I know whose door to go knock on. All right, bold prediction number 3. Falcons trade for a pass rusher at the NFL trade deadline. Let's just not beat around the bush here. This pass rushing unit is mid at best. I know we have talked about this all offseason long, but believe me when I say I'm getting exhausted this conversation too. But I think there is good reason to believe the Falcons will have a nice strong start to this season with an improved offense, having Kirk Cousins come over. And when the trade deadline rolls around, one of the most marquee positions to get traded is pass rusher. And no offense to Lorenzo Carter or Zach Harrison or rookie Braylon Trice, but Arnold Ebiketie is the only guy on this roster coming off a 6-sack season, and I think we could see him want to bring some support. Now, who could they trade for? I'm not going to go as far to say a specific name because it's just way too difficult to predict that. In order to be moved to the trade deadline, you're likely a seller, and it's just too tough to predict who will be a seller this upcoming season. But I could take a stab at it and say maybe the Bengals with Trey Hendrickson with their contract rumors, although I don't think the Bengals are going to be bad. Khalil Mack, if the Chargers aren't off to a great start, he's on the last year of his deal in L.A. Matthew Judon. What about Jadeveon Clowney? I doubt the Falcons and Panthers make a trade, but I could just see Carolina sucking. The Broncos have 2 good pass rushers who are both entering contract years, Jonathan Cooper and Baron Browning. So if things get off to a slow start in Denver and they don't foresee them coming back, that could make them available. Jonathan Allen for the Commanders, and then Terrell Taylor for the Seahawks. One name in the bunch that I would like to see Atlanta pursue is Matthew Judon. You only have to go back 2 years ago, 2022, when he had 15.5 sacks and 14 tackles for loss. Season before that, 12.5 sacks. Yeah, if the Patriots, which I fully expect them to, suck at the start of the season, Judon going into the contract year, I could see him being moved and being shopped, and I love to see the Falcons pursue him. Bold prediction number 4. I've got Bejan Robinson finishing top 5 in rushing yards this upcoming season. Bejan last year had an all-around solid rookie season. Sure, the expectations are high when you go top 10 in the NFL draft, but he finished 15th in total rushing yards behind Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Kyron Williams, James Cook. He came in at 15 with 976 yards, but he was more than just a rusher. He was a receiver as well. When you look at total yards from the line of scrimmage, Bejan Robinson climbs all the way up to 6 once you toss in receiving yards behind Christian McCaffrey, of course, and then Breece Hall, James Cook. I was surprised to see Rachaad White all the way in at number 4, and then Travis Etienne climbing in at number 5. Now, full disclosure, the history of this prediction actually says otherwise, which might sound backwards because you'd think, running backs drafted in round 1 going into year 2 of their NFL careers, surely they must only get better as they get more experience. That's actually the opposite, and I'm kind of telling on myself right now, but I do believe Bijan could be the exception to this rule. Look at the round 1 running backs the last near decade at this point, and the yards they had from year 1 to year 2. They all went down, right? Najee Harris, Travis Etienne, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, Rashad Penny, Sony Michel, Leonard Fournette. The only one that actually saw an increase in yardage was Christian McCaffrey. And believe me, I'm kind of mind blown by this as well. I surely thought one of them would go up, except for CMC. Now, Some of them dealt with injuries like Barkley, so that's a factor. But by and large, there is not this major sophomore rise from round one running backs recently like you might think. So I think Robinson could be the exception, though, because he was so talented. Some of these guys are towards the end of round one, kind of fringe round one running backs. Bijan's the whole package. I think he's going to be a dominant rusher in this offense. Kyron Williams for the Rams last year finished the year on such a high note. And I think that coaching staff that came over from LA will try and bring some of the success they had with Williams to Bijan in this offense. So I'll say history is wrong for Bijan, but put me down for top 5 rushing yards this upcoming season. Now, if you want to draft Bejan Robinson in your fantasy league, hit that thumbs up button. I do want to get a quick pulse of everyone watching right now just to see what everyone's what the temperature is on drafting Bijan in your fantasy league this year. Now, bold prediction number 5, A.J. Terrell leads the team in interceptions. This one doesn't scream super duper bold, but you might be a little surprised to see that A.J. Terrell has not been a perennial interceptions leader on this team. You look at the Falcons' interceptions leaders since he was drafted in round 1 of 2020. Jesse Bates last year with 6. 2022, he did not even record a single interception. We had a 3-way tie with 2. Now, he did tie in 2021 for the lead with 3. And then 2020, he did not lead the team in interceptions, only recording 1 pick. But this year, I could see him maybe pushing Jesse Bates for that interceptions crown. He has not recorded a pick the last 2 seasons, but I don't think it's fair or it's completely telling to evaluate cornerbacks by interceptions. We can't penalize them if they don't get picks because no one throws the ball their way. Now, I'm not saying this year he's destined to get a lot of balls thrown his way with a second-year man, Clark Phillips, likely starting opposite of him. That's likely where the quarterback will look first, but still, I feel like this is the year where A.J. Terrell gets back in the INT column in a big way. To wrap up the show, as always, we got some trivia for you all watching. So, I've got 3 players drafted by the Falcons. Right now, they're laid out in the order that they were drafted in by year. But what I want you guys to do in the comment section is put them in order based on which round they were drafted in. So, at the very top, put whoever's closest to round 1, and at the very bottom, put whoever's closest to round 7. We got Jonathan Babineau back in 2005, Kroy Bierman in 2008, and then running back Tevin Coleman in 2015. Put them in order of the rounds they were drafted in from earliest to latest. Okay, before I get you guys on with the rest of your 4th of July plans, give me your bold take. I gave you 5. I do want to hear from everyone watching down below in the comment section what your bold take is for the Falcons or just the NFL in general, if you'd like, for this upcoming season. All right, trivia answer now. Round 2, we had defensive lineman Jonathan Babineau. In round 3, it was running back Tevin Coleman. And in round 5, it was outside linebacker Kroy Bierman. So, appreciate everyone for hanging out with us. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful and safe 4th of July. We will catch up on Friday with more Falcons news and rumors.